Welcome to the Barbells and Bourbon podcast. I am your big, bald, bearded, barbell lifting, bourbon drinking son of a bitch, Shaun. And joining me today is Tino Rigano.
What's going on, man?
Welcome to our home, Tino.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm
Thanks for making
excited.
the trip. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you. I know you're in the social media game. You do your content stuff. Like we were talking technical camera, audio crap before this. Um, you are also a coach. I'm not going to say what kind of coach yet, but you know, the person that you are today was created based upon past experiences. And that's kind of why you got into the form of coaching that you are in.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to a kid when their parent or parents are physically present but emotionally absent?
Yeah, I mean, to get right into it. So, really, what ends up happening, we typically call this in the psychology world, there's mother wounds and father wounds, right? So, when a parent's physically there, but doesn't have like maybe the kid's emotional needs aren't met or mental needs aren't met or you know, um, anything like that that's beyond just being physically there, that kid tends to have a lot of abandonment issues or it develops into like some kind of wound that kid has, feeling like, okay, well, I'm not important or I'm not enough. Or, we create these stories of like, in my case, and like when it's a father wound, you get a lot of those feelings of like unworthiness, and like you don't have any value or you don't know your value. So it ends up creating a lot of stories about yourself. And it's not like, again, it's not anybody's fault because a lot of the times parents aren't doing it on purpose.
Sure.
But, I like to say like everybody kind of, um, we were only teaching from the tools that we were given. So
Yeah.
obviously they haven't had the tools either. So it's like it's a generational thing,
Yeah.
but it does affect the child in a big way for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions I want to ask around what you just said. Being a parent is not easy.
No,
I'm a parent
not
of
at all.
three teenagers. I have two step teenagers in the house. You can only read about being a parent so much
Right.
or watch so many movies about parenting or get advice from your own parents or grandparents.
Right.
Until you're in it, you don't know what kind of parent you're going to be,
Hmm.
right? And every kid has different needs.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the wounds. There's present wounds that surface very quickly when these emotional needs aren't being met.
Hmm.
And then there's future wounds that come up
Yes.
that you don't realize could surface in 5, 10, 20 years, right?
Hmm.
What wounds did you experience in that moment that you can remember as a child? And then what wounds have surfaced now that you're an adult?
It's a good question. Um, Thinking back to my childhood, I think one that I have always had was like, I'm big into like naming these things. So it's not like the most scientific name, but I call them stories because we all have stories. We all have narratives about like who we think we are. And one of my big ones was like something's wrong with me. That was always like I guess the inner story that was kind of running my life.
Something's wrong with you because you're not having your emotional needs met.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So like just to give kind of some kind of backstory, um, my dad was always physically there, but he was very much a hard worker. So he had his own business, and every day, he'd be at work and he'd be doing his thing, which is great because that's in a sense like that taught me hard work. I went to job sites with him a few times. He's an electrician, in case people are wondering.
Yeah. He's a
So
provider.
he's a provider,
Yeah.
classic, provider of the family, which I understood what that meant at a very young age. I grew up around a lot of blue collar guys, worked with their hands, very hardworking dudes. So I always appreciate that. Like I got a ton from being in that place too. But outside of that, I was always a very like artistic kid. Like I gravitate towards music. I would gravitate towards like just having deep conversations with people. I remember when I was like super young, my parents told me all the time, like, I would be the kid that would talk with all the adults. Like at a very young age, I'd be like having stimulating conversations with guys like way older than me. I'm like, who is this kid? Like, how old are you?
What do you think of the stock market today, fellas?
Nothing that
I know.
extreme, but it's similar, like
Sure.
very, very mature kind of subject matter. And I was like a young kid at the time. I was like, why don't I go play with other kids? So I was always that kid that had a lot to say and a lot to share and just was a natural, like, kind of listener. And I think growing up, my dad was very facts and figures and logic and very, very masculine driven in that way. So I would always like want to, I want to be appreciated by him, want to be respected by him. I wanted to, actually like get the recognition that I felt I wanted.
And hear that he's proud of you.
And here he's proud of me. Yeah. I mean, that goes on a whole other tangents too, but like I think I've only heard that more so recently, but growing up, I didn't like it wasn't a huge thing I heard around the house. Even I love yous and like I'm there for you. Not a lot of affectionate type of language when I was growing up. Not because they didn't feel that way, but
Now you're speaking a lot about your dad here.
yeah,
Is your mom giving you any emotional support or needs?
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, she was more the like emotional support growing up for me. Like I was very close with my mother. I still am today, obviously, but growing up Italian is kind of what they say, like the mama's boy. Like I was definitely grew up that way. Like I always kind of went to her if I had issues or problems or anything like that. Still do to a degree this day. But with my dad, it was a little different because if I try to explain something to him, it kind of felt like we were talking past each other. And I think as a kid, that built a lot of like I'd say resentment growing up because I was always angry. Like I always felt myself being really like I would act out to just try to get his attention. Like I had a very strong rebellious phase when I was, I don't know, probably in middle school up until like early high school. Not that I was like the worst kid in class, but I definitely got in trouble.
Mischievous.
Mischievous, just doing stuff to like to get people to pay attention to me, to notice me. Be like I was like the classic class clown, if you want to say. And I remember a lot of that stems back from literally the approval that I was seeking from my father, and a lot of that came from the same wound. So growing up, I had this story that I had to change who I am in order to receive attention
Yeah.
or love or support
Like
or
you're not being accepted for who you are. So let's
yeah,
try to be somebody else.
for just being me.
Yeah.
Right. So I felt I had to like be somebody else.
This is going to be a hindsight type question.
Sure.
But say your dad gave you all that love and support and emotional affection
Mm-hmm.
and understanding, but your mom was distant
Mm-hmm.
and stoic, didn't say that she loved you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think your life might have been different with that fatherly,
Yeah.
influence,
Mhm.
but not so much on the mother side? Is there any science behind
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference in like how it shows up, whether it's like someone who's more masculine or more feminine. So like in a mother wound's case, it manifests a little bit differently because like everything that I had experienced end up making me chase the approval of pretty much every man in my life, like friends, mentors, whatever. I would always subconsciously want their respect or their approval because that's how I felt like I wasn't getting maybe growing up. So in the mother's case, if you're talking about a mother and her son, if a man grows up with that kind of wound, then he's going to project all those things onto the women in his life. So like let's say he wants to meet a girl and start a relationship. If he had a mother that grew up who was like very distant, very cold, not very affectionate, he's going to overcompensate for that.
Yeah.
It's like the
love bomb and
love bomber,
breadcrumb and all the other
do it,
terms?
go above and beyond, basically be like the classic, like the nice guy.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just that's all comes from just his emotional wounds.
Very interesting.
Hmm.
Now, daddy issues is a term that we've all heard,
Sure.
right? That's when a woman doesn't have that affection from their father or bad relationship with their dad.
Right.
Is there a similar term for a man who doesn't have support or emotional connection with their mom?
I don't know if there's a specific word for it. I mean,
Would it have like a similar result, do you think? Like you,
Oh,
you
yeah.
mentioned, toxic relationships between men and women. Yeah.
no, 100%. I think it like whether it's you're raising a daughter or you're raising a son, if you have two parents that are both like maybe neglecting them, or maybe one's neglecting them and one's kind of over giving and oversharing, it's like you really just pick up like whatever your parents give you. So again, there's no such thing as perfect parents.
Sure.
Like it sounds, we're painting a very idealistic image here, which just doesn't exist. Everybody's got their thing. But yeah, I think if you're a son being raised by a mother that was neglectful, you're gonna have like your own set of challenges. Just as a woman who's being raised by a distant father or
Sure.
abusive father, same thing. So it's like it always affects the children for sure.
Hmm. So we talked a lot about, I don't know, I hate to say issues, but some of the struggles you had as a kid with,
Sure.
The lacking relationship with your father. Let's hear a little bit more about your childhood. Like, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town called Finleyville, which is just outside of South Park or Bethel Park if you're from the Pittsburgh area. Not very big. Um, but I know we just started out talking about all the challenges. Like my childhood was great. Like two loving parents, they're married. I grew up with a younger brother,
Stable household.
very stable household. Had everything growing up. Like Christmas was always the best time of year. Got all the presents that I ever asked for. Started to get a little, even to the point where I was like getting entitled because I'm like, man, I want more gifts. I want more presents, Mom. Like, why don't I have this? And kind of started to get to me as like an early teen. But amazing childhood. Like every time I needed something, parents were there, always very, very open, kind of letting me just explore what I wanted to get into. Never very judgmental, which was really helpful for me because I was a super curious kid, and they wouldn't like shame me for like, oh, you shouldn't do that because this is a problem. They kind of let me do my thing. Now there was definitely pushback sometimes, and like there'd be that fight and that headbutting,
Mm-hmm.
but it was never like, oh, you shouldn't do this because that's not what you're supposed to do. They kind of just let me had the freedom to kind of explore things.
And they're straight-laced Italians.
Straight laced Italians. Yep.
Now,
Yep.
I don't want to stereotype Italians, but, typical Italian families kind of have a plan
Mm-hmm.
for their family. And
Absolutely.
being that they kind of gave you that loose leash
Mm-hmm.
to explore, to do what you want. I don't want to say that's uncommon, but from the 87 people I've talked to before you, there's been a few Italians on, and that doesn't seem like the norm.
Maybe it's probably not. It's not as traditional as well. There's a thing because there was a level of structure there. Like there was like I wasn't even going to my first like high school party till I was like 18. Like I wasn't drinking or anything. I wasn't doing nothing till I was like 18 years old. I could barely have friends over even when I was younger. Like I would always have to ask for permission. Like, hey, can I go over to my friend's house? Can we go here? Like always texting my parents where I was at every hour or so. Like just very not like a helicopter parent by any means, but definitely like I had to check in with them. They wanted to know like what I was doing. So there was definitely levels of tradition there, but I think they I don't know, never really asked them that, but it's interesting because I was very like they kind of just let me discover I guess like who I was
Sure.
through the process, and I'm definitely grateful for that.
So you said structure.
Mm-hmm.
I call that respect.
It can be respect,
You
yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
you respected your parents enough
Mm-hmm.
to tell them where you are. That's the least you could do as a kid, so they're
Totally.
not worrying. As a kid, you don't understand what they're feeling and the
Right.
worry that a parent has when they haven't heard from their child, when they're
Exactly.
expected to check in at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you respected your parents. Were you afraid at what the circumstances or the outcomes would be if you didn't abide by their requests?
There was definitely that little bit of fear there, especially more for my dad, because I'm like, all right, he's gonna like start hitting me or beating me. Not like
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Not abusive.
Not abusive,
Yeah.
but just like the little
Paddle.
smack with the paddle, smack with a wooden spoon, whatever. Like just
Bring back paddling.
bring back spanking your kids for real.
Seriously.
Some kids need it.
Oh yeah.
But to the point where it's like it was a reverence, like a respectful reverence towards them. Like I didn't want to like disappoint them. But I think obviously as you become a teenager and hormones start racing, then you kind of want to piss them off a little bit. So there was a bit of that.
Test the waters a little bit.
Yeah, test the boundaries a little
Yeah. What was school like for you? Did you have a lot of friends? You mentioned, you're kind of like a class clown.
bit. Yeah. Yeah, school was cool. I mean, I think the big thing I got out of mostly middle school to high school era, even some of college, was like I was very much I learned more from people than I did from class in a big way. Now, I was also like pretty smart. Like I got good grades and I studied and all that kind of stuff, but I was very much a social learner. So most of my experiences were from people like with other people, with friend groups and just exploring um, different things that I was into, groups like activities, sports. So I was always like I wouldn't say I was like the most popular guy, but like I knew everybody and like everybody knew me. And I was kind of, this is more unique to my situation. I was always the kid that like I was cool with everybody. So I didn't really want to like define myself by a clique or
Sure.
by a specific friend group because I had friends that would like talk smack about another friend group. I'm like, well, I like those people too, so I don't want to like talk smack on them. So I was kind of like the chameleon. Like I kind of fit in anywhere.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
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 I was going to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you mentioned how you were so heavily influenced by your friends. That can be dangerous
Oh
depending on
yeah.
who your friends are too.
Of course.
Peer pressure is a very real thing, even to
Yes.
this day.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of drove you towards keeping yourself in check, being that you were being influenced by all these different types of people?
It's a really good question. What kept me grounded?
Because I'm sure some of your friends were doing drugs and drinking and
Oh yeah.
partying and
Oh yeah.
shoplifting and all the things that kids get into.
Sure.
What made you stay the course?
Mm. Well, I mean, it's funny because a lot of it I think comes back to parenting. Because like my parents would always say, like if I had friends that were doing some stupid stuff, they would not be shy about telling me that. Yeah, you probably shouldn't hang around them. Or like this person, my dad specifically would be like, that person's an idiot. He's being stupid. Don't do this. At first, you're like, you don't want to hear that because oh, that's my friend. Like he cares about me. I want to hang out with him. Whatever. I want to party with him. But then you realize as you know as you get older, you're like, damn, they were right. Like they kind of knew who these people were because they grew up with the same type of kids. So a lot of that I think was just from parenting, helping me to kind of like be a good judge of character. Because I feel like I was always a pretty good judge of character. Like when I'm hanging out with someone, I kind of can see, okay, they have good intentions here, or they don't, or they have a good heart, or like whatever it might be. So
Yeah.
I think parenting was a big deal for that.
And that's kind of what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
And if you didn't answer parenting in the next 5 seconds, I was going to say, do you think it could have been your parents?
1000%.
And
Yeah.
that's beautiful that your parents
Yeah.
had that much positive influence on you to make good decisions.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you made mistakes and got into trouble, like you said. Nothing. You weren't landing yourself in jail, but
Right. Thankfully.
you stayed on a good path. My parents were the same way. They never told me, which might be a little different than your parents. My parents never said, "Don't you dare smoke a cigarette. Don't you dare drink before you're 21. Don't you
Yeah.
dare hang out with that person or those people." They never told me those things, but I knew right from wrong
Right.
in general. And I knew that if I made a bad decision, I would disappoint them. And that feeling of disappointing them was enough to make me not do dumb shit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to disappoint my parents. Kids today, if you're one of those Gen Zs or what are we in Gen A
It's
now?
like Gen Alpha or
Alpha,
something,
whatever.
something like that.
The lack of respect
Oh, it's
for
crazy.
parents is
crazy.
disgusting.
Yep.
Absolutely disgusting. Kids are super entitled.
Yep.
They don't listen to any sort of rules or structure or anything like that.
Yep.
Half of these parents don't even know who their children are hanging out
I
with.
have no idea.
Never met the parents, never met the kids, don't
Right.
know where they're at. It's like the Wild West.
It really is.
And I think, you watch the news for 5 minutes, 15-year-old shot, 13-year-old shot, stabbed. Like,
Yeah.
it's scary.
It's very scary.
That's why I said bring back spanking because there has to be some sort of discipline that a parent can
Yeah.
bestow upon their children now
Mm-hmm.
that isn't going to land the parent in jail
Right.
or there be some sort of case about abuse.
Mm-hmm.
How do you control your child?
It really comes down to, like you said, having that discipline. And like in my opinion, a lot of that comes from, if you look at like the statistics and you look at really the kids that are acting out the most like that and involving themselves in drugs, gangs and whatever, heavily tied to fatherless homes. So the father's not present because the father typically is the one that instills the discipline,
Yep.
instills the respect, instills the, the leadership and the structure in a kid's life. But without that, that's when they act out. And that's when, we talked about earlier, like the father wounds, when they get that extreme, then kids look for that. We look for masculine leadership in anything. So we'll go to the gangs or we'll go to the people that we shouldn't hang around because we're like, I just want to be accepted
Yeah.
by other men. Like they want that brotherhood. So if they don't have it at the home, they're gonna look for it somewhere else.
It makes total sense. I'm divorced, but when I was married and living with my now ex, when our kids were growing up, all I had to do was look at them a certain way,
Yeah, they
and they
do.
would stop doing what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife at the time hated that
Mm-hmm.
because she would tell them over and over, "Please stop, pouring Cheerios on the floor."
Mm-hmm.
And I would look at them, and they would pick them all up. But it was that respect.
It's respect.
They
Yeah.
weren't afraid of me,
Mm-hmm.
but I also didn't. I don't want to say I didn't put up with their shit as much as the mom did, but I don't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that presence.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes total
Powerful.
sense. Yeah.
It's needed too.
Sure.
Like there's definitely there's a fine line between parents that take it too far and a parent that's actually just doing their job. And I think like as a society we've kind of gotten a little bit soft in that sense because we're like, oh, even just yelling at your kid is apparently childhood abuse these days. I'm like, no, it's not.
No.
That's just discipline. And I think a lot of people just like we said, like have that entitlement, and they think that you should just be able to let your kids get away with anything. It's like at that point, you're not raising kids. You're just making friends. Like, 'cause that's not raising children.
And there's different phases of parenting.
Sure, for sure.
I was a 100% father, until my kids got to be 16, 17 years old. And then you kind of ease into that friendship role.
Sure.
You want to be the cool dad because,
Right.
their friends are coming over and you don't
Right.
want like an old crippled dad. Hey, Sonny, like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be that cool dad, that is into podcasting and your dad's a drummer. Your dad's, like,
Yeah.
that's fun for me.
Sure.
I don't want to be that annoying, mean, old, lazy parent that's like, acting like a grandparent at that point. So, but anyways, outside of school, did you go to college? What did you do like after high school?
So right out of high school, I went to, now it's called Penn West University, but I went back when it was called California University
yeah.
of PA. Just so people are a little aware, there's a California in Pennsylvania. I'm not making that up. So I went there for 4 years, and I ended up getting into a major. I took athletic training, and mostly because I just wasn't clear with what I wanted to do. Like I was classic case of graduated high school. I just thought the next step, okay, I just have to go to college because that's just what we've been taught.
How old are you?
I just turned 31. Yeah.
Just a kid. So, I
In a lot
mean,
of ways, yeah.
I'm 47.
Mm-hmm.
When I got out of high school, the next logical step was college for me
Right.
as well.
Right.
It's the secure choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to college, you're going to get a job. That's what we were force fed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for the most part, that happens
Mhm.
unless, you make bad decisions or drop out of college, whatever.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't succeed, but that is the next logical step.
Right.
At 18 years old, did you know what your career was going to be?
I had no idea. Not a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very lost. Like a lot of my story, which we didn't get too much into, was like my whole focus from like I think 10 years old to 18 was get a girlfriend. Like that was literally all I cared about in high school, middle school, because talking about friends and influence, like I was friends with a lot of guys that were good with women. And like I saw them like getting girlfriends and hooking up and all this stuff. And I was just like the young, innocent kid, I guess, who never experienced any of that.
Do
And
you
my whole identity was like, I gotta get a girlfriend. That's all I ever
Now,
focused
do you
on.
blame that on the heavy influence from your mom in being that nice guy?
I think there's definitely some truth to that. Like, I would go to her for like to kind of calm my nerves and the approval. And this happens to every young guy when like he's growing up. Like the mom tends to be the emotional support system, which is good because that's what moms like. That's what they're great at. But it can get to the point where if you rely on her for your emotions, like as a young kid, you start to kind of put that independence away and you're depending on somebody else. So when you do get in the dating market, you're looking at women to give you that same approval that your mom gave you, and that's just not what women are attracted to. So they're not.
Nope.
It's not going to work.
Tina, let's play a game.
Let's do that.
What is the craziest thing that you've done to try to get a girl's attention?
Oh man,
You tell me and I'll tell you what mine is.
craziest thing I've ever done.
Just to get their acceptance or their attention.
I. This is probably the worst thing I did. So in college, so this is right in line with the timeline that we're in. When I went to college, again, I was still very unclear with what I wanted to do. I was in my major, but I still was like, I could see myself doing other things. I wasn't super certain, didn't have purpose, which is a huge part of what I talk about. So I was very much chasing pleasure. And I was talking to this girl in college and we were sort of dating. It was like a very complicated situation. And we were in the middle of like, we had like a fight or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but we just basically weren't talking at this time. And it sounds so fucking creepy. But I remember like I knew her schedule, like I knew her class schedule. So I'm thinking like, okay, I'm free during this time period. I know that she leaves this building at this time. So I strategically placed myself like where she was going to leave class. And I'm like, all right, this is my chance. I got to talk to her and explain. I don't even know what I thought was going to come out of my mouth, but I thought this is my chance to make things right with her. So she starts walking out of class and she didn't see me at first. So I'm like walking up behind her and she starts to like turn around. So we're like, I can't, maybe like me to the door or me to like maybe that wall over there away. So she's like
10-ish feet away.
10, 15 feet away. Turns around, she stops. She looks at me. I look at her. It's like a Mexican standoff. We're just like, all right, who's going to make the first move here? What are we going to do? Because she's not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. She starts to turn away, and I'm literally running after her. So let me paint the scene. I'm chasing her, literally chasing her, through the parking lot of my school. She gets to her car. I'm running around to her car door, knocking on the window, like, hey, can I talk to you? And it just, from the outside looking in, absolutely horrible.
So she was running.
She was physically running away from me, and I was literally chasing her to the car, got in the car, and I was like, thought this was a good, I wasn't thinking, obviously. That wasn't, like, nothing was going through my mind except talk to her. And, eventually, she almost runs me over with the freaking car because I'm, like, in front of her as she's trying to leave. But what ends up happening was I got on, she lets me in the car. We start talking, and then we end up laughing about it, like, later on. But in the moment, that was probably the wildest thing I've done.
I'm picturing it. The only thing that would have made that funnier is if like you were holding like a bouquet of flowers in like a sign.
Yes.
Please forgive me.
That would have been way worse. But don't chase women if that's the story you take away from this. Don't.
That's a great lesson,
Yeah,
Tino.
great lesson there.
So thank you for sharing that, by the way.
For sure.
I was your typical nice guy. My first girlfriend didn't happen until after I graduated high school.
Mm.
I had a lot of girls that I was like crushing on
Same.
that I wanted to date.
Same.
And I would do their homework and just like do whatever they wanted me to do. They probably thought I was gay. No offense to anyways. So in class one day, Melissa Yesionic, if you happen to be watching this and you remember this, I apologize. But she pulled out a hairbrush to brush her hair. And I offered to brush her hair for her.
Yeah.
So I'm brushing this chick's hair in class in high school, thinking this is what girls want.
That's what they want. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. What girl wouldn't want a man to brush their hair for them. At the time, girls wanted the jocks, the assholes,
Mhm.
those edgy, mysterious guys that got in trouble sometimes and treated them bad and then love bombed them to come back. I
Mhm.
don't know why girls chase that. Guess it was interesting to them. But as
Yeah.
an adult, you want to marry someone who's going to brush her damn hair.
Sure.
And I wash my girlfriend's hair and I brush her hair and all the
Yeah.
things as a good man should do for their woman.
Mhm.
But oh, how times have changed.
Yes. I certainly have.
So if you're a boy out there and you're trying to get the girl's attention, don't brush their hair.
At least not at first.
Not at first.
Not
Yeah.
at
Give it
first.
give it a little time.
That's the thing that I had to learn too was like women love the guy that actually cares for her needs. Like there's I don't know a woman that like would stay with a guy unless she's very emotionally damaged, unless he was also like caring and like did things for her and all that stuff. That's what women want long term. Short term, they want to know that you're a guy that stands up for himself, that you have confidence, that you're assertive, that you go for what you want, that you don't, to put it lightly, don't take her crap. You can stand up on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Like that's what they want to know first before they can actually feel comfortable with you doing all that other stuff. Because the provider stuff, yes, that they like that, but I think what guys miss these days is just that straight up that confidence in who they are and like having a man that just like follows his purpose and is a little bit edgy, like he just does what he wants. He
Yeah.
doesn't really like not in like a way that's like manipulative, but a guy that goes for the things he wants in life and
Yeah.
he's assertive with it.
Yeah. Have you found your forever partner yet?
I have not single single at the
So you have
moment.
all these tools to
Yeah.
find that person, but you still haven't found her.
I help people with it. Just gotta
Yeah.
take my own advice, I guess.
What do
Yeah.
you think you're not doing? Or
I
is it
mean,
is
yeah.
it not a you problem?
I mean, there's
I know that's a really
I'm not,
loaded question.
yeah, I'm not one of those people that say it's all women's fault and all women suck and like no, I'm not one of those doom and gloom black pilled guys. Um, I take my own accountability with things like that and my own responsibilities. I think for me, really, it's like I'm in a season of my life, especially right now, where I'm like kind of rebranding my business, figuring things out. I'm planning to move in a few months. Like there's a lot of transition going on. So for me to bring on a woman right now, it might be just too
Bad timing.
too premature. Yeah, it might be bad timing. So that's not to say I'm not open to it though. Like I think if you were to ask me that question a year ago or 2 years ago, I'd say, "Well, I'm not ready." But the truth was I just wasn't open because I was like trying to focus so much on my career that I was blocking everything else out. Now I'm a lot softer on my approach. Like I feel more open and I'm talking to women more and having conversations and just putting myself out there. But I'm not like, it's got to happen tomorrow kind of
Sure.
thing.
How do you date these days? I haven't had a
Yeah.
date in I don't even know how long.
Mm-hmm.
How do you date as a 31-year-old
31, yeah.
man?
It's a tough question, man. That's the loaded question. How do you date?
And
Because,
where do you meet people? How do you meet people?
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do it. Like most people stick to the dating apps, which I'm not gonna say that they're wrong because there are couples that end up working out that way. But in my experience, um, I think if you want to separate yourself as a man, especially as a single man, you got to just start approaching in person. Like you got to meet people, you got to put yourself out there. Not even for the intention to meet somebody, just to like test your social ability. That's something I tell my clients all the time. It's like when you're approaching girls specifically, it's never about the girl. Obviously, you want a girlfriend or you want to meet someone. That's great, but that's a bonus. The man that it makes you into when you do like you feel that nervous feeling when you see a really pretty girl and you go say something to her, overcoming that is what really matters. It's like the man that you become from making the approach, from creating a social circle, a network, and just putting yourself out there. That I think is way more valuable. And if you get a girlfriend out of that, a wife, that's amazing. If not, you didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
So I think the best way personally is like, I'm not gonna say you can't have dating apps. I have one right now. I'm not like super active on it, but the best thing is just to be a man who's like pursuing his hobbies in life and pursuing connections. You're just meeting people in person.
I want to get into social media
Yeah,
as
sure.
it relates to not so much dating,
Mm-hmm.
but how women view men.
Sure.
So if I forget, remind me of that. But I
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of circle back on one thing. You might be too young to remember this, but when I was a kid and I was interested in talking to a girl, I had to pick up a phone, dial their house number.
Yep.
Their parent would pick up the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have to ask to talk to so and so.
Yep.
That same initiative of picking up the phone, asking to talk to so and so is just like approaching a girl in public.
100%.
It's you have to have that confidence
You do.
to overcome the fear of making that decision,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Now, you just shoot a text.
Right.
There's zero personality, emotion, anything, even like
There's
courage
barely even
behind that.
words sometimes.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
WYD.
Yeah.
That's not
Right.
effective.
Not at all. Okay. Social media.
Mm-hmm.
You said approaching a woman as a man is a big step.
Sure.
Now you have all of these women who are critiquing
Yes.
men for approaching them.
Totally.
As a man, I would be scared shitless
Mm-hmm.
as to what to do
Mm-hmm.
because it seems like everything you do is wrong now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all for attention.
Absolutely.
Everyone loves attention, men, women, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't want to be approached by someone who's interested in you? Unless you're not available,
Right.
you don't want to be bothered. But these women are out there attacking men for just being interested in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's scaring a lot of men away.
It is. No, you're right. Like the average guy. I think there's a statistic out there that says the average dude from 30 or younger has only been on 2 dates over the course of 1 year, which is insane if you think about it. And like 60% of guys in that age range also say they're not even trying to approach women. They just rather like chill, say I'm good on that, or just be at home, whatever, not even engage. So
For that
for
for
that
that
exact
reason?
reason, yeah, for that exact reason, like they view women as like being way too high for their standards. They're too entitled. They have all these things that they require, which there's an element of truth to that. Like there's definitely some women out there that have crazy expectations and they basically just watch too much social media because that just totally distorts their perception of men and women and dating in general. But I think really like something I always keep hammering home is like you got to go touch some grass. Like literally get outside, get away from socials and let just meet people in real life. I promise you, most people are not like that. Now there's some, yes, like I'm not going to ignore that, but the whole internet culture does not always represent the entire world or the reality that we live in. It's a whole different universe online. So getting out and meeting people in real life, you're going to have good experiences. You might have some crappy ones too, but I think you're going to have more good than bad. Like in my personal experience, I've never had like a terrible, just crazy bad experience with women that I wanted to approach. Like I've definitely got rejected for sure. Every
Yeah,
guy does,
for sure.
but not to the point where it's like I'm getting like a drink thrown in my face or slapped or anything. Like guys think that that stuff happens, and unless you're a total creep, it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel bad for men who are trying to date. And,
Yeah,
I'm sure women might struggle with the same sort of thing,
sure.
from men approaching them or women approaching a man, whatever. But
Hmm.
I think social media has painted a false picture of relationships,
Definitely.
parenting,
Yeah.
what it's like to be successful, because we're seeing perfection.
Right.
Every time we scroll, we're seeing what we should look like, how
Hmm.
much money we should make, the kind of car we should drive, how big our house should be, how we should parent our children,
Yeah.
how we should cuddle our wives and husbands. That's not reality.
It's not. No.
And if you're learning how to be a human being from social media,
Yep.
go out and touch some grass.
Literally. Well, there's such a a draw to that stuff because it shows the most extremes. And people, I've said this all the time, like people would rather watch a train crash than a train pull safely into the station. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
So true.
Like how often do we see that? There's like a car accident, people are just bottlenecking and looking all the time because that's what like we're addicted to like the I don't know what you want to call it,
Like
the
disaster.
disaster, tragedy. It's
Yeah.
just more engaging. Negativity gets more clicks, unfortunately. So things like extreme views and opinions on social media, they're going to get all the views, they're going to get all the attention. And then you have shows that promote that stuff too. So this is relevant. So you guys are watching this. Love Island, shut that stuff down. I mean, literally, like the reason that show is so popular, everybody tunes in, but it's the most toxic, dramatic, ridiculous situations. And they're not even in a realistic scenario anyway. So people take dating advice or like they'll look at that and like, well, this is how I should start approaching my dating life. And right from the get go, like they get people to start making out with everybody, and like you're basically just being super degenerate from the jump. I'm like, well, no shit, your relationships aren't going to work because you're getting way too attached way too soon. Like you got to spread that stuff out, and those kind of shows, I think, just fill people's heads with all the wrong information.
I'm going to use an analogy here and compare trash TV with porn.
That's another one.
It has a very similar effect, right?
It does, yeah.
Because you're seeing, I don't want to say something that's fake, because obviously two people are engaging, or three people or four people or whatever you're into are engaging in a real activity, but it's not real,
Right.
because they are actors and actresses. When I used to watch porn, and I'm sure most men have, it changed how I acted
Totally does.
towards, my significant other. It made me insecure. It made me controlling. I don't know why it has that effect. Do you? Being that, you coach men, and I'm sure this topic comes up.
It for sure it does. Yeah, it just distorts your perception of women in general because you start to view sex as like a transactional thing. I get this by putting in very little effort because with porn, like you don't have to invest your emotions, you don't have to be vulnerable, you don't have to create a spark, you don't have to listen, you don't have to do anything. You just have to watch a video and have fun.
Sure.
That's it. There's no reciprocation at all. So you do that enough times, and you keep watching, especially the more like extreme the scenes get, it just totally warps your reality with how women are, how men are, how relationships are supposed to be. And you become addicted to it, like literally chemically, you become addicted because that type of, I think they compared the highs of like someone who watches porn and like a heroin addict. And they said like the porn addict basically has higher levels of
Like dopamine.
than someone who's on heroin. So it's like that. If you do, like, people don't even view porn as something that's that damaging, unfortunately, but it really is. And as a young man who's watching that kind of stuff, you pile on decades of time with watching it. It just totally distorts how you view intimacy, relationships, love, and all of that.
And those are all horrible side effects.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed personally was you're seeing these male actors who look a certain way, have
Right.
so many inch long penises, and you start looking at yourself differently. Like,
do.
I don't
You compare,
look
yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make me very insecure.
Sure.
Like, well, is she not going to love me the same because I don't have a horse dick? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's not reality.
No.
I don't think there's too many women out there that want that.
Mm-hmm.
Can't feel good.
No.
Anyways, but yeah,
No.
I'm kind of getting off track, but you see where I'm going with that.
No, 100%. I mean, I think there's a video on Instagram that keeps circulating that I love because it's so true. It says like, God made sex, but man created porn. So like we have these beautiful things that are natural. Like sex is a natural thing. It should be something that's celebrated. And obviously in my faith, like within the confines of a marriage or something. But, we pervert it. Like man perverts everything. That's just how ours human nature. So it's like we got to get back to the source of what actually was by design, like what it's supposed to look like.
How do we do that, Tino?
That's the question.
How do we do that?
That's the question. Well, I mean, I think if you want a spiritual answer, it's just like you got to find some kind of purpose. You got to find God. And like, I'm not here to push religion on anybody, but I think if you have at least at the bare minimum something that's bigger than yourself, especially as a man, because if a man puts his focus on just himself and like you live life just trying to please yourself and have all these pleasures, you get very hedonistic and like everything becomes a selfish gain and you're not here to like do anything with it. That just it leads a man to destruction a lot of times. So I think when a man can fully embrace something bigger than himself, he can fully be of service. Because in my eyes, like the highest, I guess you could say the highest accomplishment with masculinity is service, is like being of service. So I think the way that you do that is you got to connect with something that's bigger than you.
Yeah.
And I have my beliefs, but I think that that's where it starts. You gotta not make everything about you.
And this goes beyond porn addictions and stuff. I think believing in a higher power
Yeah,
seems to be the common element that grounds people who are struggling with something:
absolutely.
drugs, alcohol, porn, infidelity, all of those things.
Yeah.
Once you find a bigger purpose,
Yep.
that's what resets your mind a little bit. Um, have someone very close to me who took someone very close to them to rehab last night. It's very fresh. You can't force someone to make changes.
No.
You either need to make that decision on your own or faith driven. I've seen faith do amazing things to people
Yes.
to reverse some very horrible actions and addictions and what have you. So if you're struggling with something and you can't seem to find that fix or that cure, don't go to things that numb you. I know very hypocritically I'm saying, with 70 bottles of bourbon behind us, like don't turn to those things that will just numb the pain. Find it in faith, find it in therapy, find it in a close friend that you can confide in that's going to lead you down the right path and is living a life that you want to live yourself. You don't ask for help with marriage for someone who's on their fifth marriage.
Very true.
You just don't, it doesn't make sense. Right? So
Yeah.
that's my soapbox.
You're right. I mean, faith, it's such a huge component, I think, to just growth in general. But like, there's always that element of spirituality. Like, you gotta, in my opinion at least, you gotta have something. Because you can get your physical on point, you can get your mental on point, you can get your emotions in check, you can get all this other stuff. But if you're missing that spiritual element, that's kind of like the bow that ties everything together. At least for me, like I'm a Christian, so like that's kind of the center of everything that I do. And man, I'll tell you what, like again, I'm not here to preach or anything like that, but it just really, it's really healing, and like you really feel the connection if you're willing to go there. Because like I've had like especially recently, I've had like anxiety attacks. I get like super in my head and get like incredibly doubtful and like all these fears, and sometimes it gets overwhelming. And man, I just give it up to God and I look for like peace, and every single time it comes. And I don't know how to explain that. I don't know what you want to call that, but it's just in my experience I've had way too many experiences to where like I can't deny that that's
Yeah.
a huge factor in my
It's
life.
beyond coincidental.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one thing I'm missing right now, Tino,
Mm.
is that spiritual
Yeah,
drive or calling or whatever you want to call it.
sure.
I've been in and out of different churches. I grew up going to Methodist church. I'm Christian. The church didn't, this is probably a me problem, maybe not, but the church didn't give me what I needed.
Sure. For sure.
And I'm not going to get into it. There's a huge, long story about this particular church, which I'm not going to talk about because I still have a lot of friends that go there. Anyways, I think that scared me away
Sure.
from faith.
It does a lot of people.
It's not God's fault,
Right.
but my experience with the message from him to me got twisted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to unravel that and
Totally.
find the right path again. And it's almost like I don't want to commit to the struggle to find it again. It scares me, you know? What do
For
you tell
sure.
someone? I'm sure I'm not the only one that's like that.
No, you're not. Mm-mm.
How do you help me with that? I'm not asking you to help me, but how would you
For
help
sure.
someone that's struggling with that?
For sure. No, that's a very fair point, and you're not alone in that. Like, there's a lot of people that struggle with the church and like how things have maybe come from that. And I'll give you my backstory. So I grew up Catholic. Like, I always was like, went to CCD, did the whole sacraments, got baptized, communion, confirmation, the whole nine, except for marriage. Obviously, I'm not married yet, but I went through all that CCD. Went to school or went to church every Sunday and all that thing. And I remember feeling back then just like an obligation, like I had to go. My parents went, my family went, like, let's just go every Sunday. It felt like school, not because I wanted to be there, because I felt like I just had to be there. So I think when you're, and that's a very like religious kind of thing. Like, there's people that just go to church every Sunday because they think like that's what I got to do. Like, that's
That's
gonna
my
make,
ticket into heaven.
exactly, like that's gonna make me the give me salvation. That's gonna give me right with God. But then you look at their life behind the closed doors, and like they're not living anything like they do in church, or at least they're not living like they say they are. So they're just, that, I think that element of it, I think, scares people from diving into faith, because then they see imperfect human beings living a life where it's like they're doing whatever they want. It's like, well, but this person goes to church and I see them go every Sunday. So does that mean if I go to church, like I'm like no better than them? So for me, I just remember feeling like kind of falling out with it. Probably high school to college age, I started to like go less and less to church. And not that I was never like, I never stopped believing in God, but I just stopped like attending church and stopped like, I don't know, just stopped taking it as serious. And I kind of fell away from it. And I started to get more into like, I guess you could call it like new age ideology, or not really, but like just thinking more like that and more spiritual than just like having a specific faith. And it wasn't until recently, I'd say, in the last like 2 years, that I started to recommit myself. And it's funny because I wasn't like planning to do that. I wasn't even trying to. I actually had Christians like call me out because I made a post about like organized religion, and I said like, you guys, it's like telling people to do the wrong things, brainwashing people. And I had some strong Christians actually see that, who I know of. Like, the one guy I did a podcast with beforehand, and he was like, "Hey man, are you down to have a conversation about this?" I was like, "Sure." Like, I'm always open to that. Little did I know, I went on the podcast, and there was two other Christians who were all very devout Christians, and like they were all kind of not attacking me, but kind of like blindsided me in a little bit. I was like, was not expecting this.
Turned into a big debate.
Sort of, sort of. I mean, I was pretty open. Like, I was here to just talk about whatever I believed in, and to be honest, a lot of their questions kind of challenged my ways of thinking. I'm like, so like, how do you know? They're asking me things like, how do you know what God is, and like, what's your definition of that, and like, where do you think this comes from, and just getting real deep. I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I don't really have an answer for you. So I was more just open to hearing what they had to say, and I think right before we ended it, one of the guys was like, you know what? Just like, if you're feeling called in this direction and you really want to like go down this path, just ask for guidance and, go with that. So I was like, okay, cool. I went upstairs after that ended, and I literally prayed, and I was sort of praying at the time, but not consistently. So I was like, hey God, if this is like a sign, show it to me. If you want me to go down this path, show me, and like tell me what I need to do. And literally, I kid you not, within like 30 minutes, I had another call with a friend of mine, totally unrelated. Like, he was just a friend that I knew outside of social media. I pick up the phone, like, hey man, how you doing, dude? What's new? First thing he says, literally the first thing he says, he's like, man, just been connecting with God more, dude. I was like, what did you just say? He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, just been getting closer to God. I was like, so what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm reading the Bible again, and I'm praying. And I'm like, what? So like, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I felt the pull immediately after that.
Mm.
So I was like trying not to get emotional on the call because I'm thinking like, wow, dude, this is like literally a message to
Yeah.
me. So I hung up the phone. I went upstairs and I remember like getting on my bed and just bawling my eyes out, just
Wow.
crying. I'm like, wow, I'm so sorry. I just kept neglecting this relationship. And really ever since then, I took it way more serious. Like I put that, like the first thing that I do every day is pray, read the Bible. I still go to church now, thankfully, but it's like the thing that matters, at least with faith, is like faith is a relationship. It's not a religion. And I think a lot of people, especially Christians with these days, will kind of disagree with what I just said there. But like, and that's a whole other thing. I don't want to get into
Yeah,
theology,
for
but
sure.
the whole thing is like faith with God is a relationship. It's not you got to go to church, you got to do X, Y, Z, and be a good little boy. Like that's not what faith is.
Yeah.
It's just that relationship. It's that connection.
Yeah, church is, in my eyes, somewhere where you go to learn about the message,
Yeah.
whatever the message is,
Mm-hmm.
and network,
Mm-hmm.
communicate with, I'm going to say like minded individuals,
Sure.
but others that are in the same faith as you.
For sure.
I think another struggle I have with finding my relationship with God is I've seen so many pastors
That's the other part of it. Yeah.
be cheating on their wives
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep. Yep.
getting arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it almost gives you like this lack of hope that
Mm-hmm.
you can be helped if, one of the messengers from God is taking these horrible
Mm-hmm.
paths. I just,
Yeah.
it's very confusing to me,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of makes me not know what is pulling me
Mm-hmm.
in that direction. I don't know. It's hard to
No,
explain.
it's very valid.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that too, where there's like my dad especially, he grew up in a Catholic school. So he went to elementary school where he was like they had uniforms and everything. Like they would I think they have like service every Wednesday, like during the week. So he was growing up all around that. And he had a very similar experience. Like all the brothers that were in the class, like they were messing around with different girls. Some of the pastors and the priests were just messing around with different people. And obviously, in a religious context, like you shouldn't be doing that because that's not sending a good message. But again, I think like that type of thing, that type of imagery will definitely steer people away from the church. But some people are starting to come back now. I think like if you look at the stats, like it seems to be the attendance is kind of going up, which is great. But again, I think the biggest thing there is like I'm not judging a man's life on how like God wants me to show up because I know everybody's imperfect. Like I'm imperfect. Nobody's perfect. We're all gonna have our sins. But at the end of the day, like the way I look at it is God is still there. Like he's there for you even when you're in your worst. So like I'm putting my faith in him, not in man.
Yeah. I got some work to do.
Hey, we all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah. I think that's the big missing piece to my life right now.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I have a good job. Like,
Mhm.
family's great. Like, yeah, we're dealing with a lot of really horrible things right now. Like, both of my parents have cancer, and like a lot of horrible things have been thrown my way in the last year and a half, 2 years. But I think with that faith, it would
Yeah,
really help me get through them and kind of fill in that missing piece. But,
of course.
you know, I have work to do though. It's not going to just happen. I have to
Sure.
put work in just like with anything else.
For sure.
So,
Yeah, man. I mean, again, I would challenge you to just like if you're looking for that, like go find it. Like it says like those that seek will find.
yeah,
So, just I would just like say a couple prayers around it.
yeah,
Just like what do you want me to do right now? Like what's my path and just be open to it. I think the biggest thing is like people that have an open heart typically end up finding something. But if your heart's like really hardened, it's like you're not gonna find something that you don't want to find. So it's like just my advice is again, I'm not a pastor or anything like that. I don't really have any authority like that, but just be open to it.
yeah,
Just be open to it and surrendering is the biggest thing.
yeah. And I don't want to have to rely on a church
No, for sure.
to get me there
For
because
sure.
that's just a mechanism again to get the message across.
Yeah.
Like, this has to be a me thing.
Mm-hmm.
and not rely on an establishment,
Totally.
So
No, I agree. I think you find God outside of church, and then you're in church to just
celebrate and
celebrate
learn
it.
and everything else. Yeah.
That's been my experience.
Yeah. If you're struggling with finding your faith or religion, comment. I mean, I can't be
Yeah.
alone in this,
No, you're not.
right?
You're not at all.
And I have never really talked about that. And it feels good to talk about that
Of course.
stuff, which is why this podcast exists, right?
Absolutely.
Allows people to talk about really deep stuff that
For sure.
maybe they wouldn't typically talk about. So,
Yeah.
so your coaching business, Tino,
Mm-hmm.
you focus mainly on men or
Yes.
all men.
Mhm.
What has helped you be a good coach based upon, the experiences that you've had in life?
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of it comes from just my own investment in coaching. Like I've had a lot of mentors over the years. I've been in a lot of programs. I read a lot of books. So just a lot of self-taught things that I've done.
Like time and financial investment?
Time, finances. I mean, I've spent at this point close to like 60 grand in like mentorship and coaching and all that kind of stuff. So not including travel and anything else I had to do. But, that for me, like it's always been a priority. Like if I want better, I have to learn from people that have the kind of life that I want to live. So like for me, it's kind of always been a no-brainer. Like, cause even in school, so this kind of ties back to college a little bit. I would have professors that, you know, no offense to them, but like they weren't exactly the kind of guy that I wanted to be. Like some of them were like overweight, out of shape, not in great relationships. I'm like, well, I don't want to listen to this dude.
Yeah.
Maybe he was teaching something he was good at, but it just it has a different weight when you're learning from somebody who just has what you want. So I had to find people that I resonated with, that I clicked with, and I found a bunch of coaches like through YouTube and social media and just different places online. And I'm like, I want to learn from these guys because they have, whether it's the confidence or the business that I wanted or just the relationships that I wanted. That's how mentorship works. Is like they don't ever really invest in what you do; they invest in who you are. So I had to take a page out of that book and do my own investing in that.
So you wanted to find someone that looked at it more than just a job and a paycheck
Yeah, absolutely.
and a way of life.
Yeah, 100%. Someone that lives what they preach and someone that actually understands uh, what kind of impact they're trying to create. And like they're not just here to just chase a check. Like you said, they're here to really make a difference. And because that's how I am. Like if this was just about money, I would have stopped this years ago. Because there's been plenty of ups and downs in business, as you know. So if this was just money, I'd probably quit in like 2 years. But now I'm 8 years, 9 years in, and I'm still going. I'm still changing things and making it better. So, you know, my I gotta connect with people that have similar value systems.
What is the cap
Yeah.
to investing in yourself? Like when do you know that
Hmm.
okay, I have all the knowledge I'm possibly going to get.
Yeah.
I've talked to the best coaches I possibly can.
Hmm.
Now it's completely up to me to get this to the moon.
Yeah.
Like where is that line?
Well, that's a good question because I personally believe that like there really is no cap. Like there's never a point where like I know everything and I can just go now because you're always going to need someone. Like human beings by nature are social creatures. Like we grow through community. We grow through being in groups and having somebody there for support, accountability. Um, so as you're growing and you're getting results and you're learning and you're getting better, there's always another level. So like something I tell my clients is once you reach the top of the first mountain, you realize there's like 50 more mountains past it. So now you want to climb that one and then there's another one and then there's another one. So it's like as far as you want to go, like I'll probably be the guy that always invests in coaching as long as I live. Like I'll always have somebody, whether it's a business coach or finance or like a spiritual coach or fitness coach, like whatever area I want to improve in, I'm probably always going to have that. So, it's like the saying, like if you're not growing, you're dying. So it's like if you always want to be constantly elevating, um, having somebody in your corner, I think it's priceless.
Does that investment in yourself to make you a better coach, does that also hold you accountable for being a great coach?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because, I mean, how am I going to tell somebody, hey, you need to make this investment and and get on your stuff and hire me if I'm not hiring coaches or if I'm not doing the same thing. So absolutely, it makes me accountable, and it sharpens my sword, because then when I'm with coaches, something that I'll do is I'll just look at how they coach me, or I'll look at how they coach other people if it's a group, and I'll start to like take mental notes. Like, I like how he asked that question here. I like how he did this. I like how he challenged him here. Because then I'll take that and use that in my tool belt. I've taken, I don't know how many quotes and like one liners from my coaches that I'll use on my clients. So it's just, for me, it just makes me a better coach all around, for
Yeah.
sure.
Have you ever failed in business
In what way?
or
Yeah.
in anything?
Ever
And
failed?
yeah, like I'm sure you have,
Yeah.
but as you're thinking about an
hmm
example, I want to know what you learned from it and how it made you a better person.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely made mistakes. Like, there's no doubt. Like, I've messed things up, burned them to the ground. But like, when you say failure, like my definition of failure is like totally stopping and giving up. Like, I don't personally believe in failure unless you just throw in the towel. So even though I've made a lot of mistakes and maybe changed things up, I don't really view that as failure. I think that's just pivoting, adjusting, like making changes. So yeah, I mean, I've messed up a lot of like potential relationships or offers in my business, clients that maybe I could have had that I didn't, or ways in my sales calls that I didn't get somebody over the line, or um, processes that I just didn't finish or anything like that. But I would never consider those like a failure. I think those are just challenges that kind of molded me along the way. Because I think personally, like if you just never stop, you just keep going, there is no failure.
Yeah.
Like the only failure is if you just give up.
Yeah. I like how you kind of threw that back at me a little bit because I think failure by definition is different for everybody.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, a mistake
hmm
on my side, I could view that as failure.
Sure.
Like, I one of these cameras stops working. Oh, I've failed.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not failure.
hmm
Your definition of failures could be totally different than mine, and it sounds like it is a little bit different than mine.
hmm
But yeah, I mean, everyone makes mistakes,
Sure.
and it sounds like you've grown from them
hmm
and learned from them.
100%. Well, I think that's a good point, because a big part of what I work with my men about is like that perception of failure, is because they feel like they've had so many experiences where it didn't work out, and they're labeling themselves a failure. And because they label themselves a failure, now they don't have the confidence in what they're doing, or now they don't take any risks because they think, well, I'm just going to screw it up because I've screwed it up before. So my whole thing is like a mindset shift, is the way that like the way you perceive it. Because if you believe that you're someone who's, let's say let's say you believe that you're a charismatic guy, right? And then you go to approach a girl, maybe she doesn't like you, but you don't take that result to heart, because you realize, well, I don't care. That's her loss. Like, I'm still a charismatic guy. I'm going to do it again. So it's like you're not defining yourself off your setbacks. You're defining yourself off your potential. And I think the issue with men these days, and the men that I work with specifically, is like they define themselves too much from their limitations and not enough from what's actually inside of them. So it's really a mindset shift for me, because like I look at it like your actions and your results, they give you quote unquote what I call evidence, but that doesn't mean that's the absolute truth of who you are.
I mean, that's big, and I know you coach all men, but
hmm
this affects women as well.
Oh, for sure. For
Um,
sure.
what do you tell someone who doesn't have confidence
hmm
in any aspect of life? Like, how do you
hmm
teach confidence?
Yes. I like that question, because I was just talking about this yesterday with my clients. So I have a methodology, like there's a process to it. So everybody wants confidence, but what comes before you have confidence, in my opinion, is clarity. You got to know what you want. You got to know where you want to go. You got to know who you want to be, and you got to know why that matters. Once you know that, then you have the ability to go create confidence, because people think confidence just comes. It doesn't. You got to make it. You got to forge it. So it's like riding a bike. Like when you started riding a bike, you needed training wheels, otherwise you're going to fall over. Once you took them off, You might have fell 100 times, scraped your knee, got back up. Eventually, you learn how to ride a bike, and now you're not even thinking about it. It's natural. So with confidence, you have to have clarity with what you want first and where you want to go. You got to give yourself that direction. Once you have that, you got to start making choices in that direction because that's what's going to build the confidence. So I believe like before you have confidence, you got to be a little bit courageous first. So like if you want to build that business or you want to approach that girl or you want to be the guy with more finances or a better physique, well, where you are now, you got to accept like I'm not there yet,
Yeah.
but I want to be. And here's how I'm going to build that confidence by doing. So a lot of it is a combination of like action and um, just a mentality of like knowing what you want.
What's the difference between confidence and security, or the lack of confidence and insecurity?
Mm-hmm.
Are they the same or are they different? And if they're different, how are they different? Because
Yeah, let me
I
think about that.
have people think I'm confident
Mm-hmm.
when they see me walking around, interacting with people.
Sure.
Oh, you seem very confident.
Mm-hmm.
Deep down, I'm very insecure. I'm very worried about what people think about me. I'm a people pleaser. I never want to make someone upset, angry, sad,
Mm-hmm.
fill in the blanks. There's parts about me physically that I don't love.
Mm-hmm.
There's parts about me emotionally that I don't love. Like we all have our own critiques of ourselves.
Sure.
So is that insecurity the lack of confidence or is it something more than that?
It's a good question. I don't think it's necessarily a lack of confidence because I mean, even me just being around you for the time I have been, like you definitely seem confident. So there's definitely confidence there. I think that is more just like everybody's has their insecurities and their things. Like to me, because I've had that experience before too, where people are like, "Dude, you're so confident. Like, how do you have insecurities?" Like, well, I do. Doesn't mean I'm not confident. Just means I got stuff that I want to work on, and stuff that I have things with. So it's like just because you have insecurities, I don't believe it doesn't mean you have confidence. I think it just means that like you're human, and you have things that you just maybe aren't super secure in.
Yeah.
But I think like if the most confident person in the world walked in the room, I guarantee you they deep down they think, well, you know, I don't really like how tall I am, or like I don't really like how my face looks. Like I promise you, they have something.
That's true.
But confidence is more, um, it's more of uh, like it's more of a suit of armor than it is a, I don't know what you want to call it, like a permanent thing.
Sure.
Like you can choose to have confidence, or you could choose to focus on things that you're not confident in. But I think every day it's a choice.
I think more now than ever, we are all searching for acceptance.
Oh, for
And
sure.
more now than ever, it's from complete strangers that we will
Totally.
never, ever meet in real life
Definitely.
by getting that heart or that
Mm-hmm.
comment,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
What do you tell someone that is so heavily influenced on that acceptance?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this comes back to security
It does, yeah.
and believing that you are good enough
Mm-hmm.
and you are handsome or pretty or, you know, how do you help somebody that is so influenced by that virtual acceptance and just being
Mm-hmm.
happy with themselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a real issue, especially today. I mean, one of the things that one of my mentors has shared with me that really stuck out was said if you're looking for reasons to not be good enough in the world, you're gonna find it. So it's like if you define yourself from other people's opinions or their approval or their acceptance, don't be surprised if you feel pretty shitty about yourself because the world is not gonna, if you let the world tell you who you are, then you're not gonna be satisfied with it. So it's like you have to have an internal acceptance of like who it is that you are with all of your like unique gifts, your insecurities, even your insecurities, you know, your quirkiness, your very unique things to you. Like you got to own that stuff.
Yeah.
Like for me, like, you know, I have a lot of things that I'm not super secure with. Like um I got like weird balance. Sometimes I'll just fall over for no reason. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like it's just what I do. Like I'm not saying I have balance issues, but like sometimes I'll just like run into stuff and like be very like
Well,
clumsy
clumsy,
at
yeah.
times. I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, I'm clumsy. I'm goofy. Like I got a big Italian nose. People always used to make fun of me for that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like what do you want me to do about it? And it's like I try to own those things. Now, I'm not gonna say it never bothers me. Maybe moments that it does, but I think the more that you begin to accept yourself, the more everybody else does. But like when you're searching for that acceptance, it's funny that you never feel like you fit in because you're still looking for it. But when you finally can accept yourself, that makes all the difference. And I think part of that is like looking yourself in the mirror and just knowing, shit, I got problems. So does everybody else. Like everybody's imperfect and flawed, and you kind of have to own your flaws in a
Yeah.
sense.
That's how this podcast started,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Is I know everyone has a story and
mm-hmm.
everyone has struggles and insecurities and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like hearing you say that, you don't like your nose and you're clumsy, and like that makes me feel selfishly better about myself.
It does, yeah.
You know,
Good.
I'm not alone
Mm-hmm.
with things that, I'm not completely happy with.
Mm-hmm.
Relating to others through past struggles, and, you had a father that didn't give you the love you wanted, like, that didn't essentially affect me as a child, but, hearing about that stuff is going to help someone watching right now that
Absolutely.
lived the same childhood.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think just knowing you're not alone
Mm-hmm.
and it's okay to not be perfect.
Yep.
And you said, don't let the world define you. Like, that is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the most meaningful thing I've heard in a long time
Mm.
is, looking in the mirror and being happy with what you see, whether it's physical or, maybe you're struggling with something deep down emotional that isn't at the physical level that you really need to address,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to get it out. You need to tell someone about it. Maybe you're living with this dark secret that no one knows about that you
Mm-hmm.
just need, and it's holding you back in life,
Yes.
So
That's key with what you just said. Like people think that their issues are super unique and like no one will ever relate to me and this is totally out of the world. It's like, dude, there's 8 billion people in the world. Someone out there is going to relate to you. Like I don't care what it is. There's got to be somebody, and that's what intimacy is. Like that's what vulnerability is. Like we don't relate off of only our good qualities. I think we relate more to our pains and our
yeah,
struggles and our challenges. Like when I've had those type of conversations, you've experienced that too. It's like I feel closer to somebody knowing that they got things that they don't like about themselves, or they've had these issues in the past and they brought up a crazy story of how they had a lot of trauma or whatever it is. And that's how people relate. Like I saw this quote somewhere. Just I got a lot of one-liners, so I'm just pulling them out today. But they say pain is a universal language, and I really believe that. Like no matter where you come from, whatever your background is, people relate to the struggle, and I think part of that is like what I do with my clients, especially because men have this like reservation to share what they've been through or just their own challenges like that, and we carry a lot of shame around it. And the the default is we shame ourselves for having shame. It's like why did I make this mistake again? I'm such an idiot. Why did I watch porn again? I'm so stupid. Why did I do this? I should have did it this way. And it's like you can't shame your way out of shame. You have to give yourself some
grace.
grace. Exactly. You got to give yourself that love and that acceptance. Like it's cool, man. It's good. It's
Yeah.
fine. I'm human. I can make a mistake.
Forgive yourself.
Forgive yourself for it. And that's a big part of what I talk about with clients is like once you make the unknown or the unseen seen, now it doesn't have power over you. It's like, a little kid who's like afraid of the monster under the bed. They're so afraid. It's like, what does it look like? It's scary. It's terrifying. But like, meanwhile, it's probably like a sock underneath your bed or nothing,
Right.
nothing like deep like that. But when a kid looks under the bed or when the lights are on, they're like, oh, it's nothing. But like it's only scary when it's unseen. It's only scary in the dark. When you bring it to the light, it's like, damn, it doesn't have power over me anymore because I accepted it. So that's the key right there.
Your one-liners get me, man.
I got a whole book of them.
I'm
Man.
sure you
I got
do.
a whole book of them.
But I mean, seriously, all these things you're saying make so much sense. And, I'm a man. That's who you coach.
Sure.
But again, anyone can get something from
It's
this.
just psychology.
It's
Yeah.
a just life lesson.
Yeah.
And just looking at things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
We're so stubborn as humans.
Totally.
Oh, I can fix myself. I don't need anyone's help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let someone tell me what to do. I can feel how I want.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to not know everything and to
Exactly.
ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
and be vulnerable. You said the magic word,
Yep. Yep.
which again, this show is a testament of vulnerability.
Right.
And I shared a very vulnerable story with you on the phone yesterday when we did our little pre-interview.
Mm-hmm.
One of my guests confessed to this horrible family secret that he had lived with for 20 years,
Mm.
and he confessed it on this show. And it turned into be a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was horrible to hear, A,
Sure.
horrible for the family to hear, B, but gave him closure at the very end because he realized why that happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, wow, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And even me explaining and admitting that I'm struggling with my faith.
Right.
I don't know the last time I even mentioned that to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of you know about it. And that's okay because there's
Sure.
other people struggling with the same thing.
Exactly.
But
I totally agree. I mean, I think it's like you're by withholding the insecurities or like some of the dark things in our lives that we think nobody should see. It's like you're also preventing not just healing from yourself, but somebody else's healing. Because like that's how we learn through experience and like what people share. And like I've learned just from listening to some of your story. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like so I can relate a lot to some of the things too. It's like that's how we relate. That's how we grow. So I always look at it like if I'm not sharing and being fully authentic and being myself and putting my stuff out there, I'm not just affecting myself, like I'm affecting anybody else who could be struggling with the same thing. I'm not giving them a chance to heal through it.
yeah.
So it's like you're also helping other people.
All I'm really trying to do here is bring the human back into humanity because we've
That's a bar.
completely lost that.
I agree.
Sit down and talk to someone
Mm-hmm.
face to face without a phone in your fucking hand for more than 5 minutes.
Yep.
Good luck trying because you're probably not going to be able to do it. Do you see
Tough.
any phones here? No. We're focused on each other, talking face to face without a distraction, learning about each other. We're total strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're an hour and a half into not being total strangers, but
Right.
before this, dude, we didn't know each other at all.
Nope.
Now I'm like, okay, I want to know more about this guy.
For
Like,
sure.
this is someone I can relate with. This is someone I would want to be friends with because you're living a life that I want to live. You're not some bum slinging drugs on the street. We're never going to be friends. Sorry.
Right.
But talk to people, ask them if they're okay and mean it.
Yeah.
How's your day? Don't just ask because that's how you fill space. Ask because you fucking care. How is your day? Like,
yeah.
look at them in the eye. When you shake someone's hand, look them in the eye. Hug. Be affectionate. Bringing the human back into humanity. We're so black and white.
Yeah.
No emotion in our conversations anymore. We send emojis to show our emotion now.
Yes.
You can't see it on our faces anymore. We use a freaking cartoon character to show it now. It's disgusting.
I mean, there's a lot that we could get into with all that, but honestly, like what you said, it doesn't take much. Just asking somebody, "Hey, how's your day going? What's going on? What's new with you?" Now, most people are just gonna give the generic, "Oh,
Yeah,
I'm fine, it's good,
Yeah,
whatever."
everyone's good.
They'll just move on with like, "No, but like, how you really doing?"
Yeah.
Like, just ask because, especially for men, like men generally don't feel like they have a space to talk about it. Like, "Oh, who cares about my problems?" It's a big thing these days. Is men don't feel like they're heard, or men don't feel like they have the ability to be heard because like, "Oh, well, no one cares about my stuff. Just work harder." Like that's a big thing drilled into our heads, and it's like, yeah, you got to like be a man and like move forward, but you also got to address the things that are holding you back. You can't just ignore those. I have a funny story. So one of the things that I do on the side, so I do Lyft and like Uber on the side from the business. So I meet a lot of people and I have a lot of conversations. And I remember this one ride, I was picking up this kid, not a kid, he's like still young, but 24-year-old kid, 25-year-old kid from the hospital. And, I get a lot of rides from the hospital, so I'm not thinking too much of it. I was like, maybe he was like visiting a loved one or something like that, or maybe he was sick. I don't know. I wasn't getting too much into it. But as soon as he gets in my car, I start the conversation. Hey man, how's your day going? How you doing? And he's like real quiet. He's like, oh, I'm cool, whatever. Okay, cool. Not gonna press it, not gonna force it. So I just went about my business, and we drove down the road, and I try one more time. I'm like, so like you from Pittsburgh? He's like, yeah. Just real short, one word answers. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not gonna force it. Again, no people. Some people don't want to talk, and I respect that. But I was playing this song on my from my phone. It was a J. Cole song, because J. Cole's one of my favorite artists. And he looks at that. He's like, "You like J. Cole?" I was like, "Yeah, man. He's one of my favorite artists." He's like, "Dude," he's like, "I love this album." And we just started vibing off of that. So, long story short, we were connecting off music. He told me that he was a musician. He makes beats himself. Like, he was trying to get into the music scene, and he tells me all this stuff about where he came from and all this. And we started connecting and opening up. And come to find out, he tells me why he left the hospital that day. I was like, and I didn't ask him, but he's like, "Yeah, dude, I just got out of um, I was discharged today." I was like, "Discharged?" I was like, "What are you discharged from?" He's like, "I had a code 404 or something." Like, he used like the medical term. I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Oh, I was in the suicide room." Like, he was planning to take his life,
Oh my God.
and he was discharged. Like, literally, that was the first time he left the hospital from that. And I was like, "Oh,
You were
wow."
his first interaction
I was
back
his
in the real
first,
world.
literally, I was his first conversation
Damn.
out of like being on like suicide watch. And I was like, damn, like when he said that, I was like, wow, this just got real. And not, we didn't get too much into it. Like, hey, tell me about it. I just like was kind of just like asking him some questions about music and just having conversation. And then I told him a little bit about what I did. And I said, hey man, like you should follow my Instagram. Like I post content every day. If he did, I don't know. I don't know if I've never seen him since, but it was just that interaction that made me realize something small like that could just open up so much for somebody. And like he probably, I mean, I hope to this day that he found some peace from that conversation, or he found something, some kind of value from that conversation, because I don't think too many people talk to this kid that way. And it just kind of opened my perspectives. Like, man, you never know what somebody's going through. You
Yeah.
just got to ask them.
You could have saved his life.
I
I
could have,
mean, not to be overly dramatic, but it's
could
very,
have,
very possible.
could have, yeah.
Imagine him getting released, getting in an Uber to some jackass driver
Yeah.
that gets pissed because he didn't respond to
Mm-hmm.
his question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your problem? His life could have taken a very different route,
Yeah.
not knowing how fragile he was in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That was my gut reaction too, because I wanted to be like, "What's this kid's problem? Why is he being a dick?"
Yeah.
Because that's like, you're human beings. You're thinking like, "Oh, well, he's just being a jerk, or whatever." So
Yeah.
I was feeling that way inside. I'm like, "Hey, let me chill. I don't know this kid. I don't know what he's been through. Let me just relax."
Yeah.
So I just ignored it, and I just went about my business. And then we started opening up because we related to something. We talked about our favorite artist, and that opened up the whole
That's
conversation.
crazy, man.
So
Funny enough, I have a very similar story. I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can. I was traveling for work. I was in San Francisco. I got an Uber from my hotel to the airport to fly home. I'm in the back of the Uber, and the driver's on the phone, which you're not supposed to do, whatever. But I could tell I couldn't hear what he was saying exactly, but he was upset, like angry and very worked up. He got off the phone, and I was just like, "You all right?" And it's like, going through a divorce. And at the time I was divorced. I was like, not to make this about me, but I've been through it. It's not easy. I have kids. He's like, "Oh, that's what I'm so upset about, is I don't know if we should have stayed together for the kids." And I said, everyone's experience is different. I'm not telling you what your decision should have been, but you should never stay in a marriage because of your kids. You might have a different viewpoint of that, whatever. But he was like, I really needed to hear that, because that's what I'm struggling with, is if we should have stayed together for the kids. And I was like, your kids are going to be okay. and he started like, I could see him starting to like well up because he's like trying to like talk to me. And I'm getting chills. Before I got out of the car, I listened to Christian rock a lot. Well, not so much anymore, but at that time I was listening to it a lot. This is when I was going to church. And I had recently heard the song Moving Mountains. Can't remember who it's by. But before I got out of the car, I said, I want you to listen to this song. Because it was just like in me at that moment. And I said, here is my number. I gave him my number. I said, I want you to text me after you listen to the song. And he was just like, this has saved me. Like this interaction, this song. It was just like, same point. Talk to people.
That's it.
That's all it takes.
And that didn't take what? More than, how long were you in the?
It was like a 10-minute ride.
10-minute car ride, yeah.
And, I don't know what happened to this man. When I landed, I checked it. I tried to keep in touch with him. It lasted a couple days, but I don't want to be creepy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm trying to fix this guy or whatever. But I think a lot of it also, Tina, was judgment.
Yeah.
If we can just stop judging people by how they might respond to a question or how they might look or some choices they make in life. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes unless you freaking give them a chance to talk. Right? When you pull it into the driveway and you got out of your car with your perfect head of hair and your awesome shirt, which I complimented, like I placed judgment on you from the physical, right? This guy's got it all together. He's handsome. Blah, blah, blah. He has full head of hair and what a dick, I knew a little bit about your story, but you see this image of one thing, but you didn't live a perfect life. You're still struggling with things, I'm sure, which I want to ask as we arm wrestle. Have you made it this far into the show?
I've seen those before, so I figured that was coming.
Oh, it's coming right now.
Right now, let's do it.
I didn't give you any warning whatsoever.
Let's right into it. I like it. All right.
All right. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
This isn't like to the death or anything. Gotcha. I feel some resistance here. I like it.
I'm ready. I'm prepared.
You're like, oh, yeah.
Ready to go.
You start when you're ready. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Chair's coming up.
All right, Tina. You've helped a lot of men overcome a lot of struggles.
Sure.
What's one thing that you are currently struggling with? Come on, you're not getting out of that easy. Go.
I would say my current struggle is my schedule. I got to get tightened up with my schedule. Sleeping a little bit too much. I got to practice my arm wrestling. It's been a while. Rusty. Yeah, I'd say my schedule. Just like I'm like sleeping in too long. Being a little bit too lax with my routines at times. Because I think one of my things is like when I get really stressed and overwhelmed, and this is what we all do, I think, to a degree, we run to our vices and we run to something that feels good because we want to distract ourselves. So one of mine is like wanting to seek stimulation, whether that's watching Netflix, staying up watching movies long into the night, like till 1 a.m. type shit. And
it's mindless.
It's mindless.
You don't have to put any effort into it.
No.
You're getting your dopamine hit. And you don't got to do any work to get it.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And I think that comes from, when you're in the process of building something, this comes back to like delayed gratification. You're not going to get the results right away. Like, I'm changing up my offer. I'm changing up the way that I do things with my clients. So as I'm doing that, and I'm like getting on sales calls and some aren't closing, like they're not going through. So as a way to, I guess, counter that, what I'll do sometimes is like, well, let me watch a movie. Let me just do this. Let me distract myself from the pain of not getting the result. So that's one of my things is like, I'll get way too comfortable with just pleasure. Now before that was pornography. I'll be real. Like that was like watching dirty websites and just staying up late and just basically abusing my own body. Now, thankfully, at this moment, knock on wood, I haven't had any instances like that within the last probably month or so. So I've been pretty disciplined with that, which I'm thankful for. But there was definitely a point where that was like, I was doing that way more than I would like to admit. And it's kind of like embarrassing because like I have clients that'll be doing the same thing, and like, how am I going to tell them to stop when I'm still doing the same shit?
Just gonna say, do you feel hypocritical?
At times, yeah. At times.
Now, the pressure, I'm gonna we're gonna relate to each other here. The pressure of being a coach for men who are struggling with mental health, relationships, whatever else comes with that. The pressure to be a good coach, does that make you a better person?
Pressure be good. I think it does.
It it keeps you accountable.
It keeps you on track.
You know, you made a point earlier. You know, you wouldn't go to, I don't know the exact example, but like you wouldn't go to a dentist that had fucked up teeth.
Right.
You shouldn't, right? You want to go to the dentist with the perfect pearly whites. You don't want to go to a mechanic whose car doesn't start and is rusting out in their driveway.
Yep.
You see where I'm going with this. I'm a personal trainer. I'm not a 300-pound obese piece of shit telling people what to eat and how to work out. You want to be a picture of what you're trying to sell, is
Right.
what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So, you know, you struggled with porn only a month ago, yet you're helping men overcome that. I'm sure that made you feel a certain way,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
And
Yeah.
I guess the point of my question was, does that help you stay on the right course? Is because you're trying to feed your clients the right things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does because I've experienced the exact same things that they're going through. So it's like that. I think if anything, it makes me more credible because I always used to think like, oh, no one's gonna trust me. No one's gonna like give me the respect or like allow me to be their coach because they say that I'm having these issues too. But it's like, not really. It actually gives me more credibility because I've actually been in their shoes, quite literally. I've had the exact same things that they're dealing with. Now, again, I'm not perfect, but I've made a lot of progress in a lot of different areas like that. And I'm just a couple chapters ahead.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes I'll still fall, but I think that's what people will trust because they in sales and in business they say like people got to know you, they got to like you, they got to trust you. Well, to be trusted by someone, you got to share yourself. Like you got to put yourself out there and say, "Hey, I got these same problems, or I've had issues like that produce these results in my life, and here's what I struggle with." Like people want to know that you're human.
I was wondering if you did that, if you explained
Yeah,
some of your struggles, past and current, to
sure.
help them feel more comfortable.
I do more when I'm on calls with clients. I probably could do better at doing it in content because I think again, this is also one of my things is like I'll try to put the image and portray that I'm better off than I am just to kind of mask the fact that I don't feel good enough. So I'll put on like sometimes the image. This is what I used to do with content. Like if you go back way back to my early days of content, I would like wear suits. I had ties, I dressed to the nines. And I would think like, okay, well, the people will think I'm professional now, and like they'll make me look cool. And like I like dressing up, obviously. Like I like to look
Yeah,
good,
sure.
but a lot of that was an image because I like, oh, people would take me seriously. I'm like, who's gonna take at the time I was like 23 years old. Who's gonna take a 23-year-old still living at home, still figuring it out? Who's gonna take him seriously?
Yeah.
So I was compensating, and sometimes I still catch myself doing that. Like I'll sit and make a video, and it's more like an explanation. It's information, but it's not me sharing my struggle. It's not
Yeah.
me sharing my experience with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, even to this day, I think I could do a better job of that.
Bring the human back into humanity.
Bring the
Tino.
human back. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. You can use it.
I might have to tag you every time I say it.
So I gave you a one-liner.
Yeah.
Add it to your list of a million one-liners.
I'll put that in the list
I like
in the
it.
book.
Well, before we wrap, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I think like, what was your inspiration to kind of do this? I know you told me like how setting all this up and like testing it out? What was like your inspiration to have these kind of conversations?
The initial inspiration is very different than what the actual inspiration has been, if that makes any sense. Um, I was just trying to grow my brand as a personal trainer.
Okay.
As you do that, and you've done the same thing, you've invested $60,000 into being a better coach in your line of business. I was doing the same thing as a personal trainer. I invested thousands of dollars into these coaching mentors and blah blah blah, and I'm following all the best athlete coaches on Instagram and seeing all the cars they drive and the houses that they have in Miami and blah, blah, blah. It was so freaking discouraging to see what I should become versus where I am, to the point where I'm like, I can't relate to these people.
Sure.
So that kind of started these conversations so I can relate to real people. I think my tagline back in the day was like real people, real stories or something like that. Now it's strength in stories. You're not going to be able to see that.
I like that.
Because there's strength in everyone's story.
For sure.
You said everyone's story can help somebody. So that is what the inspiration is now, is this 2-hour long conversation. If it helps one person, I've succeeded, you've succeeded.
Sure.
And it makes me feel good. I feel like that's my purpose now. It's just help people.
Yeah.
Have those tough conversations. There's so many studies around having a cell phone on a table when you're talking to somebody, whether it's face up, face down, you've lost that connection.
Sure.
There's Diary of a CEO. That's the podcast I looked up to the most. They had a guest on that had a string, piece of yarn. Each person was holding that string. And the guest picked up his phone and the string got loose. And he's like, what did you just feel? He's like, lack of connection, because you picked up your phone. So he set his phone back down. String was taut. He picked up his phone, but kept the string taut. He's like, you still feel lack of connection? And then the host loosened it because he wanted his attention. He just subconsciously was trying to get his attention.
Conditioning.
Yeah. But it's the same thing. You know what I mean? But anyways, it's turned into getting people's stories and just having conversations, getting to know people. I've made so many friends that were total strangers when they walked in this house.
Sure.
You're the type of people that I want in my life. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we're going to be best friends, but
Right.
I know I can go to you if I have a question about certain things. I can trust you because you've either lived it or you're helping someone get through it, and I feel you're not going to judge me. 2 hours ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Anyways, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I dig it. It's creating safe spaces.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
And I think, yeah, man, I dig the tagline, strength in stories, because strength, people don't really know what that means anymore, especially men.
Yeah.
So that's powerful.
Yep. Men are so afraid to be viewed as being weak.
Yeah.
Just for any little flaw, but
I agree. My another one-liner, I guess.
This is your last one.
My last one, I promise. I believe you don't know what your strength is until you go through your weaknesses. It's that's how you find your strength.
Yeah.
So that's my last plug.
That was a good one to end on too, man. Dude, it's been awesome having
Hell
you.
yeah, brother. I appreciate you.
Watch one of these episodes because it's going to be freaking amazing. Subscribe. Is it free to subscribe, Tino? Pretty sure it's free to subscribe.
Free to subscribe.
So why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
And I will see you on the next episode of Barbells and Bourbon. Peace. That was fun, dude.
Dude, that was awesome.